Good evening. The biggest murder inquiries in Wales and Scotland. Crimes caught on camera and faces people are going to find familiar. But we start by going back. 2 months ago, we reconstructed one of Britain's most appalling murders, perhaps the worst crime in Wales this century. Mandy Powers was 34, her daughters Emily and Kate were 8 and 10, her mother, Doris Dawson, was 80. The injuries they sustained were savage beyond comprehension. Since our last appeal, a host of new clues has emerged. So it's Saturday, the 26th of June. It was a memorable afternoon in Wales when the national rugby team beat South Africa for the first time in 90 years. But it was a terrible night in Kelvin Road in Clydach in Swansea. We start with Mandy's sister.
My sister, Mandy, she was a wonderful mother. She loved her girls. They were her life. And she was good to my mother. They were such a loving family that they wouldn't hurt anybody. Just seemed so odd. So unreal why somebody would want to hurt them.
Initially, the house would have been smoke-filled, and therefore they're unable to see anything. But once the casualties are brought out into the open, the horror became a reality. Some of them have young families of their own, and to witness the deaths of 2 young, beautiful sisters must have indeed been a traumatic event for them. This is the most tragic and horrific experience that we have had to date.
How much do I owe you?
£2.50, thank you.
Mandy and the children got home late that night. Mandy had been babysitting for her cousin and a nearby estate. At midnight, the crucial new witness, the cab driver, was called to the 3 Compasses in Clydach.
Taxi for Mark!
He was about my height, maybe a little bit shorter, 5'6", 5'7", stocky, black hair, spiked, earring in each ear.
Who was this who took the taxi booked for Mark? Come forward and eliminate yourself.
Where to?
Calvin Road, mate. 50 on it.
See the game?
Oh, class, but don't it? What a game, man.
29, 19, I couldn't
He
get
was very happy, cheerful at the time. Well, most people were that time of night because Wales won. He had a few drinks, but he wasn't drunk. Sounded quite local.
Shoe polish is Kiwi, innit?
That's right,
June, can you mind the front a minute? I'm just going to call a cab.
Next, we're trying to trace everyone who was at or near the chip shop on the Mond in Clydach that Saturday night.
Can I have a taxi for Giovanni's? Yeah, as soon as you can. Okay, cheers, cheers.
And who was the girl in the white puffer jacket who used the phone at 1:45? She won't know it, but she's a very important witness. This is less than 100 yards from Mandy's house.
It's 1:30, mate.
No worries, bud.
Cheers, man.
Catch you, yeah?
Okay, take care.
Hello, 16. Have you still got a passenger?
Yeah, 16, free now, Lil, go ahead.
It's picking up a lady from Giovanni's chip shop on the Mond. Going to penetrate.
Yeah, okay, got that, on my way.
But I don't know why she's stuck in my mind. I just remember seeing her sitting on the wall. She was dark, she was tan, she was a pretty woman. She had quite a lot of jewellery. You noticed the jewellery.
Excuse me, do you mind if I take this one? I'm in a real rush.
Sorry, love, I've been working all night. I'm off home. Is this taxi for me?
I don't know, I was just told to come and do a pickup at the chippy.
Penetrate.
Who was this woman? Again, she's crucial to the inquiry. A few minutes later, the cab got back to the Mond.
A taxi, love?
She was about 5'5", black wavy hair, quite conservatively dressed, nice smartly dressed, petite.
Where to?
Kelvin Road.
You see the rugby then? Huh? 29-19, 10 points on the South Africans.
I tried to have a conversation, she just totally blanked me. Strange, because normally get 1 or 2 words out of people, but nothing at all.
Not into rugby?
She was sitting there with her hands on her lap, with her head down, as if she was in a world of her own.
This'll do here.
This is outside Mandy's house. This is the key person that needs to be identified. But there are still others who may be witnesses too. The couple walking down Gethlionan Road at about 2:30. And the man in a bomber jacket who was walking up towards Kelvin Road carrying something under his arm. Please come forward tonight. There's still a row to be eliminated. Were you arguing near Mandy's house that night?
It was obviously what woke me up. It was definitely a very big slanging match between two people. The female sounded more distressed than what the male did, but the male voice was more dominant in the arguments.
And we must still trace the couple walking past the Upper Ford cottages at about 4:15 a.m. They're a few minutes' walk from Mandy's house, but before the fire was discovered.
When we got there, it was chaos, really. Firemen, ambulance men, and I just remember just getting out of the car and running up the steps to the house where they were all lying outside. And it was raining. And I was thinking, well, they all were getting wet.
Martin, plainly the woman dropped by the taxi is the person you have to eliminate above all. You've just got to find her. Now, the fact is, she hasn't gone to any of the neighbouring houses, so presumably she went into number 9. If so, she's going to be very frightened about coming forward. She's going to be into this up to her neck.
Well, she shouldn't be frightened. If she had no part to play in this murder, she should come forward and contact us. It's as simple as that, really. Now, I would ask, it took us 5 weeks to trace the taxi driver. It may take us some time to trace her, but we will trace her and we will speak to her. So please, if she is listening, or you know who she is, contact us immediately.
Now, presumably she hasn't come from very far afield. You didn't have her own car or anything. So for people in that general area, just give us the best description you've got of her.
Well, she's in her early 30s. She's quite tanned. In fact, the e-fit doesn't do her justice. She is described as being quite attractive. She's about a size 12. She was wearing black clothing that night and a lot of gold jewellery.
Now, talking of jewellery, you discovered at the scene of the murders, this is identical to it, a chain like this. It's gold. Tell us about it and its significance.
It's a solid gold chain. It's manufactured in 1989. It was bought from places like Argos, such like those sort of places. It's sold for just under £300 in 1989. Now, I've been interested to know who actually has got a necklace like that and has not had it since June of this year.
So this is a solid gold,
9
men's
gold.
or females, do you know?
It's unisex. It can be worn by either male or female.
And somebody who hasn't had that since Saturday the 26th of June.
That's right.
OK, there's a £30,000 reward on this. Let me just say, incidentally, that after the last programme, that unlicensed taxi driver who was identified, well, we promised, and the police promised, that there would be no prosecutions, and they've been as good as their word. He hasn't been charged with any offences. All they want to do is to clear up this terrible multiple murder. So whoever you are, whatever is holding you back, if anything at all, call in help. Think of the children, think of the grandmother, and think of what happened to Mandy. It's a free call here to the studio in London, 0500 600 600. That number's going to be on the screen through much of the evening. Or ring the local incident room on 01792 562 731. That's Swansea, 562 731. Now, a new face for Crimewatch. Well, not really entirely new, since as head of the CID for Sussex, he's been on the programme before. But now he's joining Jackie and me as part of a team. And welcome to the show. As you may have seen in July, after 15 years with Crimewatch, Chief Superintendent David Hatcher took a senior job with British Transport Police, and so now here to replace him is Detective Superintendent Jeremy Payne. Jeremy.
Thank you, Nick. Hello, and if you think I'm nervous, which I can assure you I am, it's nothing compared to this man in dark glasses. He's in a building society in Ashby de la Touche in Leicestershire. This was just before closing time in July. We get a good look at his face, and even though he's wearing sunglasses, I'm sure someone will recognise him. He's holding a bag which may have contained a gun, and after threatening staff, he stuffed the money down the front of his shirt. Who is he? His face is thin and drawn, he's ill-looking, pale and pockmarked. Call us and stop him before somebody's seriously hurt. 0500 600 600 or 0116 248 4054. That's Leicester 248 4054.
Now to Barry in South Wales, where last year this cheerful-looking man turned up as a company secretary. A few months later he left, as did £250,000. The same thing happened in Cardiff this year. This is Brian Cunningham, who's 60, stocky and walks with a limp. He uses different names and may change his appearance. The last crime resulted in the company's collapse, with 30 people losing their jobs. Is he now working with you? 0500 600 600 or 01446 731 606. That's Barry, 731 606.
Trevor Ernest Cause, described by police as Britain's cruelest conman, was last week convicted and sentenced for what a judge called extremely callous and grave offences. For at least 15 years, Trevor Cause had befriended elderly widows, telling them he'd known their husbands. Then he robbed them of their life savings. After our Crimewatch appeal last October, a video of the reconstruction was circulated round police stations, and in June this year, an officer who'd seen the tape spotted Trevor Cause standing at a bus stop in South London. He's been sentenced to 8 years for 73 offences, and detectives on the inquiry called Operation Keeper think there are many more victims yet to come forward. Social workers often have a bad image, and it won't be helped by what we show you next. But here, as perhaps in many other cases where they're criticised, things aren't at all what they seem. This took place in Surrey and southwest London, but if you're a parent anywhere in Britain, you may have experiences which tie in. We start in mid-July in Farnham.
Yeah, the girls are just having a little sleep, so we're going to watch some telly. Look, Mum, I better go. There's someone at the door. Yeah, bye. Yeah?
We're here to see Miss Warren.
Yeah, that's me. What's the problem?
They had their social worker cards and they just looked normal people, so I thought they were social workers.
Can we come in?
Well, what's it about?
Well, listen, can we come in?
Okay, then.
They were dressed so smart and they seemed genuine. They were cold towards me as well, though. But I just thought, well, maybe that's what social workers do. They're not there to be polite to you.
We've reason to believe you've been beating and mistreating your children.
You must be joking.
It's not a laughing matter. We're going to have to check him over. Is that okay?
I didn't show him where my eldest bedroom was. He just went straight in there, took her out, and he just started stripping her straight away. And he was just started examining her, and he did look as if he knew what he was doing. I was just thinking of why they were there and who's reported me and things like that. I don't beat my children, I don't harm my children. And then that, in a way, that made me feel good that they know that I don't do that. I wanted to stop him as soon as he started taking their clothes off. I wanted to stop him all the time. I didn't want him to do any of it, but I didn't know what social workers do. And I just want them to be out of my house.
Look, that's it. You can see I don't hurt my kids.
Okay. We can see they're okay, but we will be keeping a close eye on you.
After they left, the mother was so distressed, her family checked with the authorities to find out what was going on. They discovered social services hadn't sent anyone at all. The police were called, a paediatrician was brought in, and to the mother's horror, examination showed her 17-month-old baby had been sexually assaulted.
I do feel guilty because I let them in and I let them do it. And I was supposed to protect them from any harm. And I just didn't that day. I didn't protect them at all.
It now looks as though a paedophile ring could be at work, and there may be other mothers who, seeing this reconstruction, will realise they too have been cruelly tricked. The Farnham two were distinctive. He was fat, she was thin. They both seemed in their 40s. He was tall and overweight, and his dark brown hair was receding and going grey. She was average height, but exceptionally skinny, with dyed hair cut into a bob. In fact, she strikingly resembles a woman seen not far away in Hampton, but 4 years earlier to the day. This time, her companion was very tall, well over 6 feet, and younger, in his mid-30s, with hazel brown eyes, and he wore a 3-coloured gold wedding band with a coffee bean-shaped mount. They carried a briefcase. Once again, they knew a lot about the family, and even phoned for an appointment before they called round. And last October, a woman turned up alone at a house in Morden. Again, very skinny, but this time with brown hair. Who is this?
Real social workers never turn up to physically examine your child. If you've got any concerns about a visit, call social services or call the police to check, or at least get a neighbour in to help. Meanwhile, please let us know who these people are. 0500 600 600 is the studio number, or the inquiry centre is on 01 252 716 262. That's Farnham 716 262. Now let me tell you about the crime so close to home here, the murder of Jill Dando. So many people say to me that, look, after 4.5 months, surely there's very little chance of solving this. In fact, Hamish Campbell, the investigating officer, remains adamant it will be solved. He has several distinct lines of inquiry, and he still has his full complement of 46 people working on the case. And I must say, his optimism seems to be well-founded. Jackie.
This is an armed robbery. 2 men with handguns terrifying staff at a supermarket in Staffordshire back in July. And now it's just possible that this could be CCTV footage of them wandering around the store earlier that afternoon. The first man is in his mid-20s, slim, tall at 6'1", wearing a fleece jacket. Now maybe this is the same man seen in the store earlier in the week. And is this his partner? He's 5'10", again mid-20s and fairly stocky. Please tell us who they are and we can rule them out if they're not involved and catch them if they are. 01785 234 952. That's Stafford, 234 952.
I'm a bit of a motorbike fan, having owned a few in my time, and this one's pretty special. It's a very rare 1955 Vincent Black Knight, worth £14,000, and is an example of this man's most recent acquisition. He's in his 50s, rough-looking, stocky, with a gap in his teeth and a southern accent. He favours classics like Triumphs and BSAs. He visits owners' houses, examines the bikes, and then suddenly drives off. And he's done it at least half a dozen times in the north of England. If you've seen someone with a bike like this, or someone tries to sell you one, we need to know. 01388 762 011. That's Crook 762 011.
Schools are back after the long summer break, but let's rewind the tape to just before the school holidays began, to Tuesday, July the 6th. For one pupil, a 15-year-old, the day was traumatic, to say the very least. She was waylaid, beaten with a hammer, and raped. Investigators are grimly confident her assailant will do the same again, and next time, he may well kill. But there are lots of clues, starting a month before the attack and close to where the rape took place. This is Scoresby near Doncaster in early June.
I was awoke from my sleep at about 3:30 in the morning with a clattering up at the window. And my first thought was, oh my God, there must be something wrong with family. Someone's trying to get in touch with me, get hold of me. I'd got no telephone, so I got out of bed to look out of the window expecting to see something. Nothing there. But next to my house is a building site. So my thought was, somebody's messing about on there. And once again, it happened again. I was getting quite frightened by this time, and then I realised whoever it was that was out there had seen me look out, and they were obviously watching me. By then, I was absolutely petrified. It was very early in the morning. From behind on the building site, I heard a clatter. There was a man actually running from one of the buildings, stared directly at me. A few days later, when I was bringing washing in, I noticed some items missing and later discovered that it was underwear.
The man appeared a couple of weeks later. This time he had a purple mountain bike. He stared at the house for about 15 minutes. Was he stalking other women too? And where was he staying? Then, a few days later,
I saw two young men walking along the rig. The man nearest me wore a long greeny-brown parka. The second man wore a dirty white T-shirt. They give me the impression they were dossers.
the footpath behind the building site is an old Roman track that for much of the way runs between fields. Officially it's called the Roman Ridge, but locals know it as the Rig.
Okay, well now that is the first section of the poem. So what I'd like you to do is to look at that section and then in your books write down a title for that section. Okay, wait a minute. One final question before you go, please. Write it down. Why do they leave their position? All right then, thanks very much and I'll see you tomorrow.
I was walking along Wensleydale Road towards the end of the rig when I saw a young man stood at the end of the rig with a purple mountain bike. He got this blank expression on his face, just staring, to the point where he made me feel uneasy.
Just signed out. Said I had a doctor's appointment. Yeah, right. Well, I have got a bit of a tummy ache.
There was still another lesson that afternoon, maths, but both girls skipped it, separately heading home.
Why didn't you move? You saw me coming, didn't you? Why didn't you move?
When I arrived at hospital and actually saw my daughter, just couldn't believe my eyes. Because, I mean, she was just literally covered in blood. He did her on head with an hammer and it were all the way round. I mean, he could have quite easily killed her.
The attacker seemed weather-beaten, in his mid-20s and small to medium height. He was thin, with a local Yorkshire accent. He had short, dark, scruffy hair with a goatee beard and stubble. He had a dark, zip-up top with stripes on the sleeve, and he wore distinctive Fila trainers.
Well, we were both really upset. It's just devastating. And she was just crying and she just kept saying that she'd done nothing wrong. I could see her trousers were undone and I just said to her, your trousers are undone. And that's when she broke down again and said that he'd actually raped her. I don't think I can find the words how I feel about him. It's just terrible. I don't know what sort of person can do out like this.
The rapist may have stayed in the area. The builder thought he saw him half an hour after the attack. Why was he loitering? And did he later change his clothes? Then, another hour later, this is approaching Scoresby Lane under the A1M. On the wrong side of the road, there was a cyclist, scruffy, in his 20s, tanned, with dark hair, and he stared blankly. But he was dressed differently from the attacker. Perhaps coincidentally, a bag of clothes was found later nearby. It's a Morrison's bag, and it contains shorts, pants and socks. If these were discarded innocently, they could be eliminated from the inquiry.
Derek, you are very fearful of a repeat offence. Now, for someone who hasn't seen the papers, wants to help, just quickly recap the main clues about the main suspect.
Right, well, the E-fit and the description of the clothing, we think, is 100% accurate.
Right.
The description is of a white male, aged about 26, 5'6" tall, dark hair, quite short at the sides, and a goatee beard with stubble.
And he's got a purple bike.
He's got a purple bike. It's described as an old-fashioned bike with a thin, narrow tubular frame, not one of the modern ones, and none of the modern trinkets like speedometers, so on and so forth.
And his clothes? You saw them, just remind us what he was wearing.
Yes, he's wearing the blue Adidas top with the orange stripes along the sleeves and these distinctive feeler trainers.
Now, he may be sleeping rough, maybe moving around, but I mean, somebody must know him, somebody must have seen him, not least the person who was accompanying him, walking alongside him beside the building site.
Well, that's right.
That was the day before.
Yes, the guy who was with him on the Monday, he is a key witness, and I would say to that man that this crime is indefensible. This friend of yours doesn't deserve any support. He will reoffend, so please report him to us before he has time to do so.
And perhaps other women have been stalked, pestered, molested, even attacked by him?
Yes, we've got evidence to suggest that he's tried to accost other people, and I would say to anyone who thinks that they may have been confronted by this guy, please ring us, give us the opportunity to speak to you, to try and identify him.
Okay, well, these are the numbers. If there's anything that you can add, both are free. As always, 0500 600 600 or 0800 783 1258. That's 0800 783 1258. If you've been a victim of any sort of crime and you'd like to talk to someone at Victim Support Line, there'll be people there tonight until 2 a.m. The number is 0845 30 30 900. Now, let me tell you about some of the calls that have been coming in tonight, and a great number already have. On the Swansea murders, we've had something like 6 names suggested now for the so-called E-fit lady, the woman who was getting out of the taxi. Some people have given the same name. Now, I know in one of those cases the woman has already been eliminated from the inquiry, but other ones now are still to go through. And there's quite an interesting call about the guy called Mark, who the police were trying to trace, was picked up at the pub. Someone suggested if his name actually wasn't Mark, he may have taken somebody else's taxi. And that's certainly one that's worth following up. And on bogus social workers, we've had similar incidents reported in the Sheffield area some years ago, and other ones in Kent and Lincolnshire. All of these, of course, are going to have to be looked into. We'll bring you more on all of these later in the programme or later on tonight. Now, on any of these cases, you can email us at crimewatchuk@the.bbc. You can also call Crime Stoppers anonymously if you want on 0800 555 111.
A massive investigation has been launched by police in London to catch a man responsible for a series of sex attacks on elderly women and as many as 50 other offences. Now, this could be the vital clue. A gold Victorian pocket watch, probably made by jewellers called J.F. Benson back in 1880. It's inscribed FWF on the back. If you now own it, or you know who's got it, you might be in line for a £10,000 reward and have the satisfaction of helping to catch a prolific sex offender. 0181 778 3237. That's the local police on 0181 778 3237.
In my time in the force, I've dealt with many sex crimes, and joining the programme as a regular, I do hope you can help with this one too. This is Anthony James Fitzgerald from Maplethorpe in Lincolnshire. It's a warrant for his arrest on extremely serious sex offences. He's 56, 5'7", with short grey hair and green eyes, and as he's diabetic, he could be much thinner than in this photograph. We can't give you the details, but these are very serious sex crimes. 01332 222 016. That's Derby 222 016.
A year ago, a woman ran frantically into a police station in Bedfordshire and was found having been stabbed with a Turkish dagger like this. It punctured her lung, unfortunately. Her boyfriend was charged with GBH but released by the court, and he promptly disappeared. He's William Woodman, or sometimes Edward Granger, 37, 6'1", thin and heavily tattooed. Now, he could be living in isolated areas in a caravan almost anywhere in the UK, and he often works as a gardener. 01234 275 296. That's Bedford 275 296. Or on any of these cases, please do call us here in the studio on 0500 600 600.
Now to Paisley near Glasgow. It's almost a cliche, a girl walking home from a nightclub in the early hours and being attacked. But what happened to Laura Donnelly is truly exceptional and singularly disturbing. For a start, she wasn't just harassed or molested, she was sexually assaulted and murdered.
John, we're going to take some tapings and swabs from inside the tent. I want to see some vegetation that's lying there as well, and there's some various articles scattered about.
I knew nothing about anything going on in the cricket ground. I just kept phoning places, trying to find out what had happened. And they were going, we haven't got any information to give you about your daughter. And then the CID came. They said, I'm sorry to tell you, but there's been a young girl's body discovered in the cricket ground. We believe that there's a possibility it's your daughter. And I knew then.
Laura was 22. She'd been going out with the same boy, Gary, since she was 16. In 2 weeks, they were going to announce their engagement.
How you doing?
Fine, how are you?
Mwah.
Come in, I'll close up now.
The two of them were almost inseparable, and on Friday nights they'd often go out to the movies. But this night, Laura had been invited to celebrate a girlfriend's birthday.
So when was her birthday?
Oh, it was yesterday, so I think we're just going to go for a few drinks tonight. And then we're on the high street and we met Raylene, so she's coming out as well.
Oh, Raylene, where are
Yeah.
you going?
Look, I don't know. I think we're just going to go for a few drinks to the Hog's Head or a Neil's or something like that.
Laura, that's me away now. Okay, Mum. Don't forget your keys. Remember, you've got your work in the morning.
When do I ever miss my work?
I bet you it'll be really not get married first.
Aye, for sure, I would say that. Come on, girls, no way. Why should it be me? Laura, how you doing?
Not bad.
Where's Gary? What's he up to?
He's out with Tam tonight.
Aye. All right, Colin.
How you doing, Martin?
Ah, not bad.
Martin, this is Raylene from school.
All
How
right.
you doing?
Listen, I'm going on holiday again.
Again?
Aye, going to Ibiza for a week.
Yes?
So I was wondering
If you could borrow my suitcase.
Oh, please go on, I've only got a sports bag.
What are you like?
Please.
All right then.
Magic. Look, I'll see you inside, okay?
All right then.
Look, girls, I'm really tired. I reckon I'm ready to go home.
Right, well listen, I think I'll just stay a wee bit longer. Martin just lives around the corner from me, so I can just get a
Do you want us to
cab.
stay on a bit?
Aye. No, it's all right,
No,
you just go.
No, we'll stay. I don't mind,
No, it's all right, I'll be fine. I'll get a cab back with him.
Are you sure?
Aye, it's not a problem.
Have you got enough money?
Yeah, I've got money, no problem. Look, I'm a big girl, I can take care of myself.
So look, can I get you another drink?
But an hour later, Laura was ready to leave.
Come on, let's go.
Oh, can we not just stay for like 5 minutes?
No, come on, Martin, you said we were going to go soon.
Right,
Sorry,
okay, look, I'll see you later on, okay? Hang about for us, I'll get you in a minute.
Listen, I've got work tomorrow, so we really need to go right now.
By now, though, Martin was enjoying himself, and he was reluctant to go. At 10 to 2, Laura agreed to set out on her own.
Right, listen, I'm off, right, and I'll see you real soon.
Look, let me get you a staff taxi. Frank can call one, it's no bother.
Look, Martin, I'll be fine.
You sure?
Yeah, okay. Look, I'll see you soon.
Take care.
Laura's death has created huge publicity throughout Scotland, but there are still many potential witnesses. Did you see her walking down Maxwelton Street? Did you notice the bus that slowed for her? Though now very close to her home, she decided not to take it. Did you see the couple arguing at the junction of Coursebar Road, just by the cricket ground? Do you know who was in the hospital car park that leads from the Royal Alexandra towards Coursebar Road?
What time does the flight come in again?
It's about 3 o'clock.
I think we're going to be too early. We could be waiting down there a long time.
I don't know, let's better get in and get settled. She's braving her own at this time of night.
You know, there's a guy with her there. Maybe it's a lover's turn.
This could be a prime suspect, medium build, maybe in his 20s. Who is he, and what was he doing near the hospital at 2:15 in the morning?
Excuse me, there's a woman outside screaming.
Sorry?
There's a woman outside, down at the bottom of the drive, screaming. She's not from maternity or anything. She sounds like she's in real trouble.
Okay, we'll have a quick look.
People's going about saying this person's an animal. An animal wouldn't do that. I think whoever it is must be a monster. Because she was tiny. And if he was face to face with her, he must be a monster.
What was it? Did you see anything?
I never saw a thing. I never saw a thing at all.
It sounded awful. It really scared me.
Well, obviously, given the circumstances, I'm going to get the night shift inspector out. Okay? But thanks very much for anything. Okay, that's lovely for letting us know. Thanks, Stuart.
Police didn't find anything, but next morning, the groundsman did. That evening, a young boy looking for his football found Laura's body hidden in long grass.
I can't get how another human being could look at her straight into her face and destroy her. I just can't understand it.
Tom, Laura was just a lovely girl, everybody says so, just desperately, desperately unlucky.
Yeah. Laura was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Laura was a very ordinary girl, a very ordinary night out.
Opportunist crime, obviously, I mean, nobody could possibly have known she was going to arrive there, so presumably this is a local man.
We know that someone left the reception area of the Accident and Emergency Department at the Royal Alexandra Hospital about 2:10 that morning. He was described as 5'8", slim build, short hair, clean shaven, wearing a dark blue anorak, a football type anorak and a white t-shirt. We need to know who he is.
Either for elimination or to tie into this one way or another.
That's correct.
Now, how can people in the area, and of course everybody in the area has been shocked by this, everybody wants to try and identify who the killer is. What can they have noticed? How can they know who it is? Because you haven't got an EFIT of the killer, you haven't got a strong description. What would they have noticed in behaviour or anything else?
We believe someone who would have committed such a dreadful crime of this would display some change in their behaviour from that day. Remember, this was a holiday weekend in Paisley. It may well not be that they've changed their appearance, it might just be simply that they're quieter or more sullen than normal. If you've such concerns about a son, a boyfriend, a husband, I need you to contact me. We can deal with that sensitively and in confidence. We have got a DNA profile from the crime scene and we can very quickly put your mind at ease.
So if somebody comes up with a suggestion, however mild their concern, they just noticed a behaviour change in somebody perhaps in their 20s or 30s they have concerns about, you can eliminate just like that.
Exactly. I plead with you, if you have any concerns, I know it's very difficult to come forward in those circumstances, but we can deal with this very sensitively.
Well, it almost goes without saying, call us then. If there's anything that you can add, anything at all, 0500 600 600, or ring the incident room in Paisley, 0141 532 5946. That's Glasgow, 532 5946.
A few months ago, a man in his late 60s was drinking in a pub at the Elephant and Castle in South London when two strangers came in and tried to rob him. After a struggle, they laid into him, smashing a bar stool over his head and knocking him unconscious. These two men nearby look very similar, and we need to eliminate them if we can. They're both 30 to 35 and around 5'9" with moustaches and goatee beards, which they might have shaved off by now. 0171 232 6133. That's 0171 232 6133.
Finally, a very dangerous man indeed. Please watch out for him. He's wanted for questioning about an attempted murder in Brighton. We know he travels widely, sometimes to Ireland or even back to his home in Stockport. A month ago, a man of his description attacked a woman in her home, beat her unconscious, sexually assaulted her and tried to strangle her. She bravely fought back and he ran off. William Joseph Porter is 37, stocky to fat and 5'7". Now it's vital he's found quickly. Other people may well be at risk. 0500 600 600 or 01273 665 666. That's Brighton, 665 666.
On the murder of the family in Swansea, we're still taking a large number of calls and a large number of people trying to identify the woman who was dropped by the cab. In one case, one woman has been named 5 times. And we must be cautious about that because some of these people, as I said earlier, have already been eliminated. We've also got one name suggested for someone who had a necklace like the one we showed but doesn't now, who's said to be quite violent. We've got a large number of calls too looking very promising on the Doncaster rape, a similar attack reported in the area a couple of weeks ago, and we've got some really good calls coming in with suggestions of names and other details on that. But perhaps the biggest volume of calls, but also the most, well, frankly, the most profitable looking ones are on the bogus social workers, where we're really getting not just calls from all over the country, but really good leads. One suggested name for the man who has previous conviction for suggested assault. That's the man we saw in the first part of the reconstruction, apparently the dead ringer for this. A possible identity of that same man in the Lancaster area, suggestions for the other man as well. Really a great richness of calls coming in on that. Now, we're still taking calls here in the studio, and there are other numbers you'll find on CFAX on page 621. I'll tell you more about these calls coming in on Crimewatch Update tonight, which is at 10 to midnight. If you're not in bed by then, do come back and see how things are getting on. If it is bedtime, rest assured by the look of what's coming in tonight, we're on the way to cracking several of these crimes. So don't have nightmares, do sleep well. Good night.